characters have masks on. We had them special made, and I have a sign out that says wishing you a social distancing Merry Christmas. And some of our characters that we have in the decoration were used in the movie Operation Christmas Drop. So there's teddy bears that with masks, and so we have celebrities in our front yard. So that's the reason why I put that background, just to try to get everyone to understand that as we go through this difficult time with the pandemic, we got to try to find joy during the holiday season.
Hey, General, good morning. We're going to get to the recommendation, the big honor, but you talked about the pandemic and everything going on. And now that you're retired, looking at what the National Guard is doing during the pandemic, sense of pride there for you of what the team is doing?
Absolutely. The National Guard, they made of a lot of professional officers and NCOs, and they work hard. They make a lot of sacrifices to get the job done. I know a lot of them have spent time away from their families. I know some people slept in their garage rather than sleeping in their house, just to protect the family. And so every time I read about the Guam National Guard and the missions they've been involved in, very successful, and I'm so proud. Our Guard has come a long way, and so yes, I'm proud of everything that they've done since the pandemic.
And in your 30-plus year career in the armed services, you've seen quite a bit. You've had some high honors, and the most recent one, now that you're retired, let's talk about this recommendation from the congressman and how you got word that you were being recommended.
So how I got word, I think I was, it was just 2 days ago where I received a call. I had a couple of phone calls saying that Congressman St. Nicholas was trying to get a hold of me. And so I gave my number, and we talked, and he asked if what I was doing, and I just told him I was just enjoying retirement, and asked me if I still wanted to continue to serve. And when he told me it was about the veterans, I didn't hesitate, and I thought it was an opportunity to help veterans. Being in the Guard, I've seen many soldiers and airmen who have returned from combat, very stressed, and they need the assistance of Veterans Affairs. And so I have some experience with that. I also have some experience on running the local VA when Governor Calvo tasked me to oversee the VA when the former administrator left. So for a few weeks, I was in charge of the Veterans Affairs locally. And so I see the need to help vets. And so when Congressman St. Nicholas asked me, at first I was shocked, and I was very humbled that he asked me. And so I accepted his request to nominate me to be the Deputy Secretary of Veterans Affairs.
And you, as a veteran, General, you have been through the process. You've had to fill out the paperwork. You've had to wait for this, the funding or an appointment or whatnot. So you do have that perspective of being actually in the system. And our country, we yell, support the troops, the top of our lungs every chance we get. And sometimes we fail to support those troops after their retirement. So do you see that there's you mentioned the need there. What are some of the gaps that you see that maybe we could work out and you could help if you do get this position?
So I will tell you, you're absolutely right. There are gaps, but I'd like to start off with the positive, and that if you look back 5-10 years ago, a lot of our veterans locally were really hurting, and it was probably nationwide where the service needed much improvements. But if you compare today, there's significant improvements, and there's a lot of people locally that I'd like to mention. But before I miss my point, uh, you talked about I've been through the experience, and unfortunately, when I abruptly left the National Guard, part of the process before you leave is you go through a transition. You sit through a VA brief. You sit through a transition brief, and you get all this information. This is supposed to happen before you retire. Unfortunately, I did not get that. So it's coming on 2 years since I retired, and I'm struggling to go through this VA process, struggling to find out how to process for disability, how to process for to get medical treatment. And I know some of the holes in the system, but the my experience, people I'm sure believe, well, you're a retired general officer, you get preferential treatment, but I will tell you, and that is not the case, and it should be. I'm a soldier like everybody else, and I should stand in line like everybody else. So I'm being treated like a soldier, and so I know some of the hardships that soldiers go through. When I applied for disability, it got kicked back several times because, again, I didn't get any briefing on, some of the programs that they had and how to apply for this. Some of the programs, and so the going through that process was difficult, and I can share some of my experiences in that, and living on Guam makes it even harder to go through this process because of our distance and because of our small island. I was taking calls. I had to get up early in the morning or stay up late at night to take calls from people in Texas or Kansas to deal with my case. And so it's very frustrating at times because you feel like you're getting nowhere. And here I am almost 2 years and I'm still going through this process. But, I don't want to focus on the negative. I'd like to focus on the positive, and I'd like to talk about a lot of good people. So you have Tim Uggan right now, who's in charge of the local VA affairs, and he's doing a very good job considering the resources that he has. And I know firsthand what he's going through because at one point in time, for a short period, I was in charge of the VA, and what I see is our local VA is changing. Initially, it was an office of the Veterans Affairs. It's still labeled Office of the Veterans Affairs, but it needs to grow to Department of Veterans Affairs. And what that means is that he needs that support. He needs that personal support. He needs that logistical support for him to succeed in taking care of the veterans locally. And you got people like Joe San Augustine, who was really instrumental in improving the veteran services and the cemetery, and Dan Mendiola. And then you got vets like Frank Gunnar Salas, who sits down with vets and he helps them file all the lengthy paperwork. Maybe about 2 weeks ago, I got a thick packet on my application, and I was sitting down looking at it. It's like, oh my gosh, to go through all that paperwork is just cumbersome. And so again, I know what vets go through, and it's just frustrating, cumbersome, and it's tiresome to go through this. And here I am 2 years later, and I'm still going through the process, and it seems like I'm getting nowhere.
Yeah, and the sense I get from a lot of veterans and yourself here in this interview is that a lot of those programs, the resources are there, they're available. It's just a matter of kind of navigating through the bureaucracy to get to them.
Correct. They have what they call VSO, Veteran Services Officers, and they're supposed to facilitate and help. And in the past few years, we've had many VSOs, and they're very instrumental in understanding the process and guiding people and filling out paperworks. And so again, there's improvement, but there needs to be a little bit more improvement.
So when you retired, you didn't think you were going to stay retired, did you? You got called up to serve again. So this position from the congressman, we know it takes a while, the process, up to nomination and all that. But have you already started to kind of focus in on some goals that you would like to accomplish if you do get this position?
Well, right now I'm in the process of doing all the paperwork. So I just received the call on Saturday, and here it is Tuesday. And so first I received a link to fill out some information, and just this morning I heard from the transition team, and they're asking for information. So I'm going through all this process. Meanwhile, as I go through this process, I'm talking to different people about some of their perspective on some of the improvements that we need on island for our veterans. I personally, I think I think one of the shortfalls of Veterans Affairs is when vets go through issues, for example, PTSD. So there's this, I call it the continuum line of stress. So veterans get stress, and if he doesn't take care of that stress, it becomes post-traumatic stress. And if he doesn't take care of that stress, it becomes a post-traumatic stress disorder. So that's the line that the veteran goes through. But the second order of effect is that affects family members. And so as the veteran goes through stress, the family goes through stress. And as a veteran goes through post-traumatic stress, then the family goes through post-traumatic stress. And the veterans are being treated. And so I think we need better programs for the family members, because they are affected with veterans. And I don't see that treatment available for family members, which is, I believe, is badly needed.
From your years in the service and being adjutant general, how important the family members of the men and women of service are, the husbands, the wives, the kids, the relatives, the parents. You guys, you need that foundation, that support group of the families to have a good soldier that's ready to go.
That's absolutely correct. Our service members cannot be successful without the support of the families. And so when the veterans come home and they're exhibiting some of the stress and it manifests itself into the families, we need to take care of our families. And I know of several cases where soldiers and airmen had stress and it manifested onto families. And unfortunately, I know some children that they were really affected by the stress of a veteran. And so that's why one of the things I think the Veterans Affairs need to look at is just not treatment for service members. It's treatment for family members, because they are part of this whole process.
So you've obviously honored to get this recommendation, and I hope you keep us posted for when you get any more information. And it sounds like your life in retirement is nothing but paperwork, General.
It's not true. So I'm going on 2 years. And so what I've been doing is I've been helping Santa Barbara Church, the pantry. There's about 300 people who need food. So I've been participating in helping feed families up in Dededo. And then there's ROTC cadets. And so we're starting a alumni association to help mentor our ROTC cadets. And so it's just not sitting down and looking at filling out forms. It's just getting involved with the community.
Fantastic, General. Congratulations on the recommendation, and thank you for your service. Thank you for all you do. Even though you're retired, we appreciate it. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you, Andy, and just happy holidays. And anybody looking for Christmas display, drive down My Road and check out the Christmas decoration. Okay.
All right, fantastic, General. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas. And we've still got plenty on the show to come here, but I believe right now we are going to take a break. Sabrina?
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and take a break.
Hey kids, with the best holiday of the year.
You overcame the challenges of this day and age and showed the world that our spirit of Inafat Malik is unbreakable. Siduas Maasi to all our community partners